Okay, if everyone could take their seats so we could get started. Bring the meeting of the Long Island Railroad Committee for November to session. We have 3 public speakers on the list. The first is Omar Vera.
Good morning, MTA LIRR Committee. Thanks, welcome back. I'd like to discuss a couple things. First, I'm in agreement with this, with modifying Jamaica Station and adding a new platform in order to add capacity for the impending East Side Access project, as well as potentially, hopefully one day, if they consider it, more service from Atlantic Terminal and from Penn Station. Brings me to the next point. Penn Station. I'm in full support of like renovating Penn Station because it's been over 50 years since it had a proper entrance. Of course, the 60s was a time of of developments, and they didn't take into account many potential consequences of modification in the negative form. Which then brings me to the next point. I once again thank Dr. H for moving forward with East Side Access. Thank you, sir. And but I'm increasingly concerned about future funding for the MTA, seeing that an incompetent man has been elected president despite losing the popular vote. And I am afraid that his disastrous policies that are impending would lead to another barrage of service cuts and huge fare hikes and massive deficit that the MTA faced, just like it faced 6 years ago, and that it just pulled out of. So like I said, I hope that the MTA will still have funds available in the impending years, because I'm really afraid of what a Trump presidency would do. I'm really afraid. That guy should not be president. Hillary Clinton should have been president, not her. Put someone like Don Murphy of Voight Productions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker is Murray Bowden.
Good morning. I'm going to speak on the President's report, which isn't published, so I reserve the balance of my time until after I hear his report.
Thank you, Mr. Bowden. The next speaker is Orrin Getz.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Just a comment that came up during the Metro North Committee meeting, and that was looking for additional procurement sources for your very specialized electric-propelled EMU cars. And yes, you're going to Kawasaki. Somebody mentioned Bombardier, but please look into Bombardier and the problems they've been having delivering the R179 subway cars, which have been very much delayed. And they may have a production problem that may limit them from being a viable candidate for additional procurement for electric multiple unit cars for the Long Island Railroad and for Metro North. It's a serious problem they have with the subway, and it may be something you have to look into. Also, Alstom. Alstom procured, New Jersey Transit and Metro North procured Alstom cars for West of Hudson services. They're nice-looking cars, but they were very problematic. So there are some concerns about buying cars from Alstom. I don't know if they have the technical expertise to build the cars that you need. And just one final item. Please don't give up looking for additional cars for the diesel hold lines on the Long Island Railroad. Maryland may have some cars in the near future that you could use, and some locomotives. I know New Jersey Transit does have some locomotives that they can provide, and they may also have some cars. So it's something I think you can look into. Some of these cars are similar to what Metro North uses on the Hudson line, and possibly could be refurbished and used for the Long Island Railroad. We will discuss some more of this with Bob Lavelle, Vice President of New Jersey Transit Rail Operations, and I'd like to try to get him interested in maybe getting some of those cars over to the Long Island Railroad. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The minutes of the October 26th meeting are in the book. Are there any changes to the minutes? If not, a motion to approve. Second. All in favor? Minutes are approved. Pat, are there any changes to the work plan?
No changes to the work plan.
No changes to the work plan? Okay, why don't you go right into your President's report then?
Yeah, I'm going to be brief this month, Mitch, and talk a little bit about our continued ridership growth. This October, we again exceeded the prior October's ridership numbers. It was only by 0.5%, but we do continue to increase. At this point in time, that's 10 months into the fiscal year, we are still up year-to-date 2% on overall ridership in 2016 versus 2015. That's 1.4 million customers year-to-date additional over last year. So it continues to be a good news story. We do continue to see ridership in both commutation and non-com. So it is a growth that just continues. And as I said, it's been 21 consecutive months now where we have exceeded the same month of the prior year. So that's a pretty good trend. The only other thing that I have to mention is the at your place setting today, you will find a staff summary for the mainline expansion project. Unfortunately, we had intended to put that in the agenda, and we failed to do so. I'm asking your indulgence to allow us to walk it in today and talk about it. And when we get to the procurement section, I'll go into more detail on that procurement.
Okay. Any questions for the president? Okay. If not, safety?
Good morning. We're reporting on our safety performance through the end of September. The report can be found on page 70 of your book. We continue to favorably trend down in the reportable customer accident rate, as well as the reportable employee lost time injury rate. Through the period ending September, we received 179 C3S reports, of which the committee was able to review 157. We have 11 corrective actions that are in development and 5 that were implemented. In addition, the MTA Police, through the period ending through the month of September, had 374 police details, resulting in 1,399 summonses, 685 warnings, and arrests were a total of 5 through the end of September. And finally, our community education and outreach partnership with the MTA Police has reached over 82,000 folks in communities across Long Island and Queens. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Any questions? Chuck?
Under broken gates on page 70, and the same thing happened at Metro North, it looks as to the Long Island Railroad that you had about 100 broken gates last year and about 98 so far this year.
Correct.
Are those gates broken in the normal course of breaking, or are they broken gates where cars have gone through them or damaged them?
In some cases, we're not able to readily determine what led to the gate being broken. In other cases, we do get reports of cars making contact or trucks making contact with the gate. So it's a mix.
Let me ask you this as a follow-up.
Go right ahead.
When a car hits the gate, are there cameras available that can get a photograph of the car's license plate?
Chuck, to answer your question, no. If you remember, probably about a year ago, I told you that it was something we were moving forward with, and we are moving forward with that, but we have no locations up and working yet.
As everybody knows, I have a big problem with the Orwellian use of cameras. But it seems to me that in this context, you ought to be encouraged to move this forward, because when a gate is broken by a car, I would assume that in the overwhelming majority of the cases, that's a fella who just didn't want to wait and just went right through it and figured he'd be a hero. And maybe he ought to get an award for being a hero from Chief Cohen's folk, namely a ticket. But my point is, please do take a look as to whether you can, within a constrained budget, afford to do something like that.
Yeah, and remember the strategy that I discussed with you before was we do not have a project to do all 300 grade crossings on the Long Island Railroad. We're doing it as part of existing projects. So it will happen pieces at a time. For example, we have a signal project renewing the signals from Spionk to adding signals that never existed from Spionk to Montauk. So every grade crossing from Spionk to Montauk will be included in that. We have another signal project on the Long Beach branch. So every crossing will be included in that. The double track project, all the crossings that are part of the double track project. So we're adding it to existing projects. It is not a standalone project to go around and try to do every grade crossing. That's been our approach.
Is there a reason for that?
300 is a tremendous effort. Two, the resources involved to be able to do this are significant. And right now, those same forces are involved in the signal renewal projects and PTC and stuff like that, and I just can't afford to take the manpower away.
In my opinion, not only should they get a ticket from Chief Cohen, they should get a bill from the Long Island Railroad. And having their picture on the license plate will allow that to happen, because they are, breaking government property, not only from the perspective of the property, but of the time and the delays they cause as a result of that. And, so it's a multi-pronged approach. Hopefully we will get to that shortly on at least some of the lines, and as other lines are done, we will at some point get to where all the crossings will have them in that regard. Anything else on safety? Yes, Ira.
Just a quick comment. I heard the comment Commissioner Myrtla made at the Metro North meeting regarding the C3Rs program, and I just wish at some point, probably maybe the next safety or the next committee meeting here, we get a brief summary of the corrective actions that were taken, like what were they? Because it'd be good to see the result of that. I'm not interested that much in how many reports there were. I understand that if there's a problem out there and you're asking people to report it, probably hopefully dozens of employees would be reporting the same problem. So, but it would be good to see what the corrective actions are, and maybe even a summary of what was reported in a generic way and what action was not taken and why, so that we know this program's being implemented well.
Justin and I are working closely now because we've heard your request for more information. We are looking to prepare something that we can standardize in the Safety Committee reports. It'll give you some idea of the patterns of reporting as well as the types of interventions that are resulting from those patterns of reporting. So we definitely are working on that, so we have a strategy across both agencies, so it's clearly understood what we're seeing. So we hope to have that, hopefully something even in December for you.
But it is
Thank
worth
you.
noting that your injury rate has gone down, and that the safety component that you folks have implemented appears to be working.
We agree. Anyone else on safety? If not, capital construction, Michael?
Just wanted to point out that our work at the 48th Street Bridge, LIRR, is complete. And now we are actually ready for track installation. That must happen before the Christmas holiday in order to secure the second quarter cutover of the realigned ML2 track. This work is not dependent on Amtrak support. It does require Long Island Railroad weekend outages, and Long Island Railroad is committed to provide the necessary outages on the weekend of November 1920, as well as 2 weekends in December. The other things that are notable is the fact that the mining operation on the westbound bypass has encountered some technical issues due to contractor construction methodology, which include the vertical alignment, and the contractor is projecting another 2 weeks to effectuate the necessary changes. As far as procurements, the pre-bid and site tour for the midday storage yard facility, this is probably the largest contract that we still have left, was held on November 10th, and we have a scheduled bid opening on December 22nd. that may potentially be delayed by about a week or two, depending on the contractors. And the notice to proceed for Tunnel A that was scheduled actually to be done earlier is now scheduled for the end of January, when Amtrak and Long Island Railroad resources are expected to be available. That's all the news for the East Side access at this point.
Any questions for Michael? Comments? Okay. Chief, police report?
Good morning. For October, Long Island Railroad experienced 14 incidents compared to 10 last year. We had 2 robberies compared to 1. One was in Amityville, 2:30 in the morning. The wallet was removed. That case is still open. The other robbery was in Bethpage. It started out as a domestic. It ended up as a robbery, and an arrest was made in that. We did have a slight increase in larcenies, 10 compared to 8 last year. 3 of those incidents were at the Valley Stream Yard. They occurred between October 12th and October 19th. One individual was stealing aluminum, and an arrest was made on October 19th. As mentioned, we're continuing our grade crossing enforcement, and yes, we do investigate any trespassers on the tracks, cars, trucks, etc. If there's no cameras at the scene, we will look at adjacent sites for cameras, and we will aggressively pursue those individuals. If there's any questions.
Any questions? Okay. Information items, the charter, page 35. This is the charter for the operations. I guess we could eliminate Metropolitan Suburban Bus Authority because we no longer run the Metropolitan Suburban Bus Authority. So we will ask the Governance Committee to eliminate that phrase in wherever it is. Are there any other questions on any of the other items? Yes.
There was a point raised at the Metro North Committee that identifies security
Yes.
as being discussed in this committee, and we've actually developed a process whereby we discuss security in executive session with the Safety Committee and
Right.
in some cases with the Capital Construction Committee. So I think we should approve this and move it forward, but we need to take a harder look at our charters with respect to that issue.
Yep, agreed. Okay. East Side Access Support Projects, page 39, Pat?
Yeah, Rich Oakley is here, and we have a little presentation
Oh,
to show
excellent.
you in
Okay.
itself.
Okay.
All right. Good morning. Beautiful. Thank you. Good morning. I'm Rich Oakley, Chief Program Officer for the Long Island Railroad. Today I'll be providing a very brief update on Long Island Railroad's East Side Access Support Projects. This material can be found, as you said before, on page 39 of your books. Next. Next. Okay. As illustrated here, there are ongoing infrastructure investments being made throughout the Long Island Railroad system on the Ronkonkoma, Babylon, and Port Washington branch, as well as in Jamaica, to increase the capacity needed to meet the future service demands of East Side Access. Next. These 5 individual East Side Access support projects have a total budget of $506.6 million, which are progressing in various phases of work. The projects are Jamaica Capacity Improvements Phase 1, Massapequa Pocket Track, Great Neck Pocket Track Extension, and Colonial Road Bridge Reconstruction, Mid-Suffolk Yard, Port Washington Yard Extension. The first 3 projects listed are well into construction. Mid-Suffolk Yard is expected to start design-build construction in the first quarter of next year, and Port Washington Yard Extension is in the planning phase with design anticipated to start next year. All 5 projects are scheduled to be completed prior to East Side Access opening day. Next. Jamaica Capacity Improvements Phase 1 will provide the added capacity needed for Jamaica Station to service East Side Access. As shown, we have already shifted the tracks to make room for the new platform that is required for Jamaica Station to service Brooklyn, Penn Station, and East Side Access to Grand Central Terminal. Platform construction was awarded in September, with completion scheduled for the 3rd quarter of 2019. Next. The new platform in Jamaica Station will have full connectivity with the rest of Jamaica Station. The platform, escalator, and elevator to the existing portal mezzanine will provide access to the rest of Jamaica Station, New York City Transit, the air train to JFK Airport, and local bus service at street level. Next. As shown, the new pocket track is located between Massapequa and Massapequa Park stations, and when completed will allow for mid-branch turning of trains for additional express service on the Babylon branch and support of Eastside Access. All 1,700 feet of Massapequa pocket track and switches, as well as the local signal bridge, were completed this year. The signal hut and other wayside equipment are in place, and Long Island Railroad forces are in progress of installing the third rail communications and signal systems. The pocket track is forecast to be completed October of next year. Next. The existing pocket track east of Great Neck Station is being extended to accommodate an additional 12-car train. The pocket track is located within the railroad right-of-way and extends beneath the new Colonial Road Bridge, which was opened up last April. The initial site and track work for Great Neck Pocket Track were completed in September under the same design-build contract as the Colonial Road Bridge. The contractor's work included new drainage, retaining walls, and 1,100 feet of track as shown to the right. Long Island Railroad forces have begun to cut in conduits for railroad systems and final utility relocations. Signal equipment and 4 switches for the final tie-in to the existing service tracks have been ordered. Great Neck Pocket Track is scheduled to be cut over and in full functional use before the end of 2018. Next. We are working with the town of Hempstead on the best design approach for extending the yard tracks east in a manner that will minimize impact to property used for customer parking at the Port Washington station. The options have been discussed with the town, and we are anticipating a decision early next year, in which case we will start design before the end of next year and be able to complete the yard extensions before the end of 2020. Next. Mid-Suffolk Yard will be delivered as a design-build project. Preliminary design was completed in September, and as shown, Mid-Suffolk Yard will be built just south of Long Island Railroad's existing Ronkonkoma Yard. It will be a new fully functional train yard, providing additional east end train storage capacity for Eastside access. The yard will consist of up to 11 layup tracks and the facilities necessary to support the yard operations. We are scheduled to award the design-build contract during the first quarter of next year, with completion scheduled for the third quarter of 2019. That concludes my update. Are there any questions?
Any questions from anyone? Chuck?
What is the maximum consist that the new platform will support at Jamaica Station?
Yeah, it will accommodate up to 8 cars.
The reason I asked that question, and it's too late for Jamaica now, was a point that Tom has been making concerning the ability to change the consists of various cars, of various trains, to accommodate larger and smaller ones. My only question in that regard is, perhaps at some point somebody ought to look into the possibility of making longer platforms to accommodate it, or some other vehicle to do that.
Yeah, one, I totally agree with you. We need to have 12-car platforms everywhere. We run 12-car trains. It becomes time-consuming when you have to add additional dwell time in a station to allow people to walk back through a car. So we are including that as a general rule in as many projects as we can. Platform F's a little bit different in that it is designed to run shuttle operation between Atlantic Terminal and Jamaica, and the capacity is built to match the train size that will run into Atlantic Terminal. Atlantic Terminal will not accommodate a 12-car train right now, so we can't run that into Atlantic Terminal. But generally, it is something we are trying to do and are including in it as many projects as we can. And the Jamaica Capacity Improvement Project does call for increasing the capacity of some of the existing platforms in Jamaica, which currently do not accept the 12-car train. So that will be happening to the rest of the platforms in Jamaica.
Ira?
On Jamaica, and actually on all of these, I see most of the completion dates is well before East Side Access. Is there any benefit, or will the operation of the railroad change before East Side Access, especially regarding this Jamaica change?
Well, the Jamaica capacity improvements will actually go beyond. This is, Rich mentioned phase one. There is a phase two that will go beyond that. The Jamaica capacity improvements will take place over a number of years. It has to be done like the work that Michael's doing at Harold Interlocking, a piece at a time. You can only make available one piece to be able to construct it, but we are reconfiguring that to speed up the movements through Jamaica so we can make more parallel moves concurrently through the interlockings at Jay and Hall, so that we can more efficiently move trains through that area. That's the concept behind the project. It's also a state of good repair project. Jamaica Interlocking, both Jay and Hall are, they've seen better days.
Well, let me tell you my concern. I don't think this plan was ill-advised because it relegates Brooklyn to a shuttle service. That train left the station. I voiced objections to it. Many other people did too. My concern is that you'll implement a shuttle service sooner than necessary, sooner than the opening of East Side Access. I don't know if that's the plan or the thought.
We do not have that plan. Like you see Massapequa Pocket Track and stuff like that. These, by delivering these projects early, it does give us flexibility should something go wrong, but we have no plans to alter our schedule prior to East Side Access.
Okay. Thank you.
Anyone else on any of these? Okay. Holiday schedule, page 48.
Yeah, as usual during the holiday season, we add a number of services. Just to mention them, we run 8 extra trains on the Long Beach. We run an additional train to Babylon and Huntington, and this will go through the end of the year, starting now. Thanksgiving Eve, we put additional service out there. Thanksgiving Day, after the parade, we need additional service. Both Christmas and New Year's, we have early getaways prior to the holidays, and of course we have the Times Square event, so we need to get people home late on New Year's Day. We have Thanksgiving holiday coming up. Obviously, the day before Thanksgiving, we see an increased ridership. We offer additional service. And I need to mention something that is new, and that is for the first time ever, thanks to efforts of Dave and a number of people, we are going to run a special train on December 3rd, Saturday, December 3rd, from Ronkonkoma to Penn Station. We will have characters on it from the Madison Square Garden holiday show. They will be on the train. It's going to be a push-pull operation, and we sold it out in 4 days.
Yeah, not surprised. You mean these will be characters separate from the characters we normally see on the Ronkonkoma line? Just wanted to make that clear, like me. Okay, just wanted to make that
Yeah,
clear.
the costumes will be a little different.
For sure. Neil?
Will the Dolwyn family be paying for this, given that this is a free advertising opportunity?
They are supplying the characters for the train ride, so yes, they are participating on this, but in terms of the cost of the operation, as I said, it's a complete sellout, so it's a good news story for us.
Okay. Procurements, page 51.
Good morning. There are 3 items in this month's procurement package in the total amount of $11,578,919. included in these items.
Cindy, can I start with the walk-in item first?
You want to do that one first?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Let's do the
We'll just
walk-in
take that
item
separate.
first. And again,
Okay.
I apologize for the fact that we have a walk-in item. Again, the staff summary should be at your place. And this is, for us, this has been a project that we have endeavored, with the help of the governor, to move forward as quickly as we possibly can. And this is the mainline expansion project to build a third track between Floral Park and Hicksville. This project, we have been moving quickly through the environmental process. We are about ready to release the draft environmental impact statement. With the release of the draft environmental impact statement, the scope of work certainly gets better defined than it was in the scoping documents that we previously released. And we think it's important at this point in time to bring design-build firms on board to help us move this project forward. And when I say help us move this project forward, we are bringing them on board actually when we are still doing environmental work. We are not at the end of the environmental impact statement, and we're not at the end of preliminary engineering, and there's a reason for that. The reason that we want to bring these firms on board is to gain their input on the constructability issues associated with this project. It is very tight quarters that we have, that we need to move this project forward, and we very much want their expertise to be part of the finalization of the environmental documents and the preliminary engineering on this project. The procurement process that we'll use to bring these firms on board is, again, the staff summary is to allow an exception to the procurement process to allow us to use the RFP process. It will actually be a two-step process. First, we will ask for firm qualifications submittals from teams interested in participating on this, and we will shortlist 3 to 4 of those teams to go forward with. We will then conduct one-on-one meetings with these teams throughout the rest of the environmental process, because that enables us to gain their insight on design issues, on constructability issues, and most importantly, the impact on the community issues, because the biggest challenge with this project is going to be the work that needs to be done in obviously very well-established communities. We need to minimize that impact on those communities. Remember, we're working on grade crossing eliminations as part of the scope of this project. So there's traffic issues that we need to deal with, noise issues that we need to deal with, and having their expertise as part of the development of the documents is critical to making sure we do this project the appropriate way. We have committed since the beginning on this project to what we've termed unprecedented outreach to the communities, and we truly have been doing that. We have been meeting consistently with these communities. We want to continue to be able to do that. We want to work with them in every way possible to minimize the impact this construction will have on their communities. Again, I apologize for it not being here to begin with, but we truly believe this is an important project to the future of the Long Island Railroad, and we ask for your indulgence and your approval.
Any comment or questions on this item? We'll take this item separately from the other two. Ira?
Just a brief comment. We should do this with all deliberate speed. How long does this process expected to take before we'll have something before us?
We expect to get to the end of the environmental process sometime in the spring. The exact date depends. We've got public sessions that we have to conduct as part of the process. We obviously have to get to a final environmental impact statement. The draft, as I said, will be ready very shortly. and that process is one that you will see information on this project several more times. One, you're going to be asked to amend the capital program in the near future to bring this project into it, so that'll need to be part of it. Two, when we do get to the final environmental impact statement, we will bring that back to you. And then when we get to the point of making a selection of one of the shortlisted teams to actually perform on this project, we will bring that back to you. So you have a number of opportunities to participate in the next few months on this project.
We think this will come back to us in the next few months? I mean, to award this contract, I mean, everything...
The actual awarding of the contract will probably take into mid-year of next year.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments on this item? I will tell you, for those of us who have been working on this project for over 25 years, it is a day many of us thought would never happen, to move this project forward in this regard. And I want to thank the governor and those on Long Island who have been steadfast in its support. This is a very important and essential part of bringing the Long Island Railroad into the 21st century to be able to provide the service that the people of Long Island not only want but deserve. And this is a very, very important aspect of that, and one that we've all looked forward to. And I appreciate the fact that this is one step in a multi-pronged series of steps to make this project happen, and that this board will have a variety of opportunities going forward to discuss other aspects of it as we move forward. But this is a very good start to the process. So I move it. Second. John seconds it. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. Now let's do the other ones.
Okay, we have two remaining competitive procurements. The second item is a request for MTA Board approval to award a firm fixed price contract to Halmar International in the amount of $9,715,000 to provide design build services for the Post Avenue Bridge Replacement Project. The Post Avenue Bridge is located immediately west of Long Island Railroad's Westbury Station, along Long Island Railroad's main line in Nassau County. The existing two-bay structure will be replaced with a new three-bay structure to accommodate a future third track, and will provide additional vehicular clearance from the existing posted clearance of 11 feet 10 inches in order to meet New York State DOT requirements above the roadway of 14 foot 0 inches. And the third item is a request for MTA Board approval to issue a contract mod in the amount of $1,863,919 to Bombardier Transportation Siemens Rail Automation joint venture, otherwise known as the PTC System Integrator, for wiring and assembly of communications cases required above the initially planned quantity, which formerly was 60, now increased to 108 C cases, due to the maturation of the radio frequency design. This also increases the work that is required to be performed by Long Island Railroad forces. This modification will mitigate the risk of not completing the PTC installation in time to meet substantial completion of December 2018. These items are submitted for your consideration and vote.
Questions? Chuck? Go ahead.
On item number 2, Bombardier, and this is not an opposition, it's a question. Have you factored in, on the Bombardier side of this, the fact that it is engaged in a worldwide layoff program, having laid off thousands of workers from Belfast to Canada? And the question is, questions are, to what extent, if any, have you obtained assurances from Bombardier that this will not affect Plattsburgh? And secondly, to what extent have you obtained assurances from Bombardier that it has the capacity to complete?
Chuck, as you know, the PTC project is something that has drawn our undivided attention as we try to meet the 2018 date. We have held numerous meetings with the system integrators, because it's a joint venture between Bombardier and Siemens. You mentioned Plattsburgh. It's not being done in Plattsburgh. It's actually being done in Pittsburgh, and their facilities there is where we're doing a lot of most of the PTC work. Obviously, they have a number of sub-suppliers.
I would have preferred it in Plattsburgh.
But that's where their expertise for this particular business line is headquartered in Pittsburgh. So it's something we're very much focused on at every step. Obviously, we have held a number of meetings with their executive leadership because of our concern of this project meeting the date. We continue to push them to do so. They have actually added resources to this project, which has been helpful. That said, we remain very diligent in our efforts to make sure that the deadline is met.
May I simply suggest that you, at your earliest convenience, get assurances that the worldwide layoffs within Bombardier will not in any way adversely impact this.
We can do that. Anyone else on these two items? If not, I'll make a motion to approve. Second? Second, all in favor? Aye. Sorry. The operations reports start on page 61. Are there any questions on any of the operations reports? Ira?
Well, very briefly, I've noticed, because someone pointed it out to me, that on the Huntington branch, actually on weekend service is pretty bad. I'm looking at the statistics here that kind of bears that out. And I think some of the reasons might be, like they said, and apparently they're right, is that there's been a lot of track work weekend after weekend, and they even said for them over a period of years, and they see like a consistent deterioration of weekend service on the Huntington branch, a lot due to track work. I mean, I think that there's a reduction in the actual trains provided, but even the trains that are provided are consistently late, and I've been complaints about that. I've noticed in looking at the statistics, also Oyster Bay, and I think Ronkonkoma, so maybe it's mainline work, I don't know. I'm just wondering if in the future we're going to see some break for people on a Huntington branch in particular.
Couple things. One, I've asked Bruce and his folks to take a little bit different approach to some of our track work, and they have been doing that. For example, our tie-in surfacing jobs, last year we did Long Beach, and we did the entire Long Beach branch, and we will not have to go back. This year we're doing the entire Port Washington branch, and when we complete that this year, we will not have to go back to the Port Washington branch. We still, for a number of projects, particularly when we lay welded rail or concrete ties, have gone back several years, but they are trying to work and reschedule their work for as much as possible, that once we get in, we go in and get it all done, and it not be year after year after year in our approach to these things. We aren't out of that woods yet, but we are definitely moving in that direction and making progress.
Thank you.
Anyone else have any other questions on any of the operations? The saddest thing on operations is on page 64, that the heavy unloading due to the Mets game stopped on October 5th. We were hoping for some more heavy unloading past October 5th, but unfortunately that did not happen. I guess we just have to wait till next year to make that happen in that regard. If not, motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor, thank you very much. There are no reserved minutes after the... You want to speak? Go right ahead. I have no problem. You want to say something? Go right ahead. I have no problem. Go ahead.
I think that the way you're approaching it is in a new way, in a flexible way, and I think that's the kind of thinking moving forward. Doing things simultaneously and not sequentially is the way we have to go, and I think you're moving in the right direction. Thank you.
Thank you. Motion to adjourn. Second, all in favor? Thank you all very much.